Hi, it's time for the Mark Taylor Show. I'm Mark Taylor. My guest for this segment is former MLA for the area, Sheldon Lee, also the Minister of Transportation and Communications. Right, Sheldon?
That's right. That's right.
Good to have you on, Sheldon.
Thanks very much, Mark.
Yeah, Sheldon was in politics from 1978 to 2003. And you, as I say, you were in opposition for the first little while, right?
Yeah, for the first 13 years.
Right,
yes.
okay.
I was in government for the 12 years.
Right,
out of
okay.
the 25, yeah.
So in 87, you came along, they gave you the Minister of Transportation and the Communications at the same time?
Communications, yes.
Which is one that you probably was less known, because I didn't even know about that, I guess.
Oh, well, there was some quite considerable amount of work to communications, but actually on my card that I had Minister of Transportation, it didn't have communications on it.
Oh, it didn't? Okay.
If I gave you a card, you wouldn't know it.
Okay.
Anyway, I was responsible.
There's nothing wrong with that, I guess.
Nothing wrong with it, no.
So you served under Frank McKenna.
Frank McKenna.
Ray Fournette and Camille Theriault were the leaders. Yeah.
Yes, and I was in the House with Bernard when Bernard Lord was there in 2003.
Okay. Yeah. But for the most part, it was Frank McKenna.
Yes, Frank. Well, Frank was he was there for 10 years.
Right.
I was appointed to cabinet by Frank.
Right.
And Frank was there the first 10 years that I was there, and then the next 2 years, Camille Theriault was the minister. Anyway, after that, we lost the election, and I went back into opposition. So I was in opposition until 2003, from 99 to 2003.
Yes.
Again.
So in 2003, you just decided, I've had enough of this.
Yes, I was not defeated at the polls. I just decided after 25 years, 13 years in cabinet, and 13 years in opposition, 12 years in cabinet, I figured that was enough.
I guess. 25 years of serving the public is that's quite a thing. I don't think anybody could maybe criticize you for wanting to get out of there at that point in time. Holy smokes! So. We go back, well, you and I are from the same community, so I guess it's not like I'm talking to a total stranger here. So you go back to, you grew up in Bonnie River, right?
Right.
And people that don't know where Bonnie River is, in the southwest part of New Brunswick, it's about, 30 minutes from the U.S.-Canada border, right?
Right, yes it is.
So, and that's where you grew up.
I grew up there.
Bonnie River, family, right?
Bonnie River on one side, the Macadavy River on the other.
Yeah,
so I grew up between the two rivers,
right? And
in a valley type sort of place.
Exactly. And it was you came from big families, which is what everybody was
there
back.
were 9 in our family.
Yep.
Yes, yeah.
And it's probably, as you go back through the years and stuff, I mean, nobody was swimming in money. I mean, it was hard times back in those days.
Hard times, yeah.
Yep. And so when you get out out of school, you usually hit the hard knocks or somewhere.
You got a new pair of shoes in the spring and you wore them to Sunday school.
Yeah.
The rest of the week you went barefoot, and that's a fact.
Yeah.
And in the fall you got a new pair of boots. Right. And you wore them all winter, of course, the cold weather. But in the summertime you were in your bare feet a lot.
Oh yeah.
Which was fun, you know.
Yeah. It's a different time then than it is now, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Went swimming about every day.
Yeah.
So
oh yeah. Well, there you go.
You didn't need shoes anyway.
No. So when you get out of school and you're all finished school, you hit the pulpwood. Is that where you?
Yeah, I worked in the wood. I trucked for 15, 16 years, and I worked in the woods and.
Yeah, you hauled wood, I guess.
I trucked a lot of pulp.
Yes, and gravel.
And gravel and trucked. I think I had 7 trucks. I probably wore them all out.
Right, okay.
So to speak.
Yeah. And did you have any equipment to go with, like bulldozers?
No, I didn't, because everybody else that I was working for had equipment. They had loaders, and a lot of the time there was no loaders around. You loaded by hand, but in the late years everyone had loaders and equipment and stuff. So I never got into the equipment very much, except trucks.
Which, if you look back on it, it was no mistake that you got named a Minister of Transportation, because you knew what you were talking about. I mean, when you go and somebody asked you something about building a road, been there and done that.
I could read a grade stake, because I'd worked on construction a lot with trucks, you know.
Oh, for sure.
You have to know what the grade stakes are marked.
Yep.
And there wasn't much to it, but a lot of people couldn't read it.
No. I mean, as I say, that it's not something, so that when you're talking to somebody, if you're talking to a contractor or you're talking to a fellow politician or something, you know what you're talking about. I mean, you know, the road, you know, the way the roads are done and everything like that. So it's kind of...
Especially to a contractor, but that was not much advantage to you.
No.
The big problem in transportation is trying to get the money delivered across the province equally, so you try and keep everybody happy.
Yeah, and
you had so much capital money, and you try to treat everyone as fair as
and you know how hard that
every road as best you could.
You just said it there, how to make everybody happy. Now that's tricky business.
It is. Yeah.
So I would say if you're in politics for 25 years, you had to be doing something right. And I was mentioned to you beforehand, Greg Thompson was on here last week, and he tipped his hat to you. He said he wanted to kind of model himself after the way that you and Leland McGaw handled the politics.
Appreciate that.
Yes. Basically what he said was, and I said, if you're going to be in politics for a number of years, you can't pick sides.
No,
if somebody calls you up and they've got a problem, I mean, it may be a small problem, but it's a big problem to them, or they wouldn't have called you. And you got to kind of look and say, well, I don't really care how the guy voted or she voted. I'm going to help them.
Once you're elected, you represent everyone.
Yep.
I always figured that.
Oh yeah.
I didn't care if people would call me up and say, "Well, Sheldon, you know people I knew that voted the other way," and they'd say, "You know, I didn't vote for you, but I got this problem." I'd say, "What's your problem?"
Yeah.
I always done everything I could for them.
And that's how you stay in power.
Well, that kept me there 25 years.
Yeah, I was going to say, because people remember then, and then of course their kids and their family. They say, you know, he helped Bob or helped Joe that time, you know, and you know that the word of mouth is the best advertising you can get.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then when you get out of the, well, I guess you didn't get out of the wood business or the trucking business. You started a store. A general store in Bonnie River.
I had the store a good part of the time that I was in the trucking business, and Joan, my wife, run the store pretty well. Now I'd go out in the evening and give her a break.
And your children used to work there from time to time.
My daughters and Terry, my son, would go in the store too, but she run the store mostly through the day. I was doing something else most of the time.
Yeah, you know, I was thinking coming over. It's a vanishing thing. You don't see stores out in rural areas anymore.
No, that's a sad thing too.
Because I guess it's the way, well, the whole society is now. The roads have all opened up. You can be in St. John within, you know, from anywhere pretty well in Charlotte County in an hour. And you can be in the U.S. in, you know, half an hour, 3/4 an hour from pretty well anywhere. So it's kind of, and you can't compete with the big superstores and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's true. You can't beat their prices. You know, they buy things cheaper. And
oh yeah, they buy so much, right? I mean, you're buying, you know, a few pounds of hamburger. They're buying loads of it. I mean, tubs of it, and there's no way you're going to be able to compete. So you think around, there's not a lot of that going on anymore. You know,
there's not very many rural stores in rural New Brunswick.
No, for sure.
Few.
So I guess we go back. So then you run the store, and you had your own trucking business and everything going on. What made you want to get into politics?
Well, I'll tell you, Mark, what made me get into politics. I watched politics pretty close. I was going to political meetings when I was about 12, 14 years old.
Okay, so you were a fan.
I tell you why. Down the road from me, you remember Cal Craig, Cal Craig Sr. Cal was a great conservative.
Right.
And of course I was always liberal, but Cal would be a meeting in town, he'd pick up as many people as he could get on his truck. He had a ton truck.
Okay.
And we'd all pile on. And we'd go to the meetings. So I was going to political meetings when I was about 12 years old.
So that's where you kind of get your feet wet.
It was a great, exciting thing to go to town to hear Hugh John Fleming talking, you know.
Oh, yeah. Well, so is there somebody that you watched, I mean, through the years, you say, you know, that person there is somebody I'd like to be able to, I could do the things that they could do. Wish I could be like Louis Robichaud, or I could be whoever. I mean, just, is there anybody that really caught your eye? I mean,
to be totally honest with you, Mark, there wasn't. I got into politics because I wanted to change things.
Right.
I honestly didn't think that we were getting our share.
Right.
For the region and the air, and our roads were in terrible shape. You know they were.
Oh, yeah.
And I had you know, I just thought that if I could get into politics, I might be able to do something and help.
Yeah.
And I eventually made it. I lost my first election.
Yeah.
And I was elected after that the next 6 elections.
Right. Yeah. So when you see those things and you say you want to make a change, what was it first like when you think, well, I got elected, I'm going to go to Fredericton. That first day you must have thought, whoa, what am I getting myself into? You know, you're going up there with a whole bunch of strangers, basically. I mean, there's a lot of people that you wouldn't have known. I mean,
yeah, but
most people.
I was very happy about it. I would look forward to going to Fredericton and dealing with the issues that I had some authority once I got into the legislature.
Yep, for sure.
And of course, once you get in cabinet, you have quite a lot more authority to deal with things, and you have a budget to do things. And I tried it. I averaged 212 million capital money every year I was there for the 12 years. Now, some years I had 260 million or 270.
But the average is 212. Yeah, well, that's a lot of money to throw around.
I tried. I think, to be totally honest about it, I don't think I had an enemy anywhere. I tried to spread that money around.
No.
I spent money in my own area, but I didn't get any more. Some people would say that, but I didn't get any more than somebody else that needed it as bad, you know. I split the money up. And
well, I was going to say that you know what it's like to be the ordinary Joe. I mean,
absolutely.
So because you probably, I'm sure you probably called an MLA or an MP at some point in time before you get into politics and said, I'd like to know if I could get a hand with this. I would like to know if I could do this. So, and you know how hard it is to cut through that red tape. Yeah. And if you get somebody like you, or if I said, Sheldon, here's a thing I want you to go talk to somebody in Fredericton about. Yeah. You're the voice. You're the voice for everybody, right? I mean,
I never refused anyone. If they had a problem, I dealt with it. I didn't care how they voted.
No, and you can't. I mean, it's
if you start picking and choosing and forgetting the guys that didn't vote for you, you're not going to be there very long. That's what kept me there 25 years.
Because in order to stay in power, votes have got to flip. And they got to flip your way. Yeah. If they flip the other way, it's so long. You know, I mean, so if you get in there and you say, well, I'm only going to look after my buddies. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. You won't be around long.
Oh, that's right.
So, and I asked Greg this, and I'm sure you probably have the same answer. Do you actually have friends that were on the other parties, like on the opposite party? Obviously, you have friends in your own party, but I mean, you meet people and you say, well, that guy's a good guy.
I do have friends on the other side. You know, I got along fine. I never. Some people get up and talk, and they can be rather mean, but I never done that. If I had something to say, I got up and talked about it.
Yeah.
But I was very sincere about what I was talking about, but I wasn't there to criticize the guy on the other side. So I didn't make any bad friends there.
No, and that's good. I mean, because that can come back and bite you.
Yes, it can.
And do you still follow politics?
Oh yes, I follow.
You watch it on TV. You watch the federal and provincial. I mean,
yes, I do. I watch it pretty close.
Do you think sometimes? I mean, I'm not putting this out about any party or anything. That maybe some better manners could be at times. So do you think? I mean, it gets out of hand sometimes.
It does.
Even you got to admit that.
Oh, I've seen that even in the legislature in Fredericton. But you see it on TV too. It can get out of hand. And
it gets personal.
Yes,
which is crazy when you're thinking about it. I mean, you're there to help the people. It's not because you and I got a rift.
No,
that's right. Nothing about this. So.
No, you have to. I never made any enemies on either side, but I got the job done pretty well.
I know there's probably a lot of people that are out there on watching this show that have got a Sheldon Lee story, and I remember a story about a guy, and I don't know his name or anything like that, but he wanted to know. He was sick. I don't know what he had. If he had cancer or what his illness was, and he was having a bit of a problem getting his road plowed in the wintertime. And and he was worried that the ambulance wasn't going to be able to get in, and he was worried that if he had to make a fast exit in the middle of the night, he wouldn't be able to get out and stuff like that. And he got a hold of you and got back to you, and I'll say I don't know where the guy, I believe the Moncton area, which is not your it's your jurisdiction, no. But I mean it's not your riding. No. So you would have had to get a hold of somebody and say, hey, there's this guy's name, here's his address. See what you can do for him. I mean, and believe me, that's that story. And so there's probably other people, and I'm sure you never got the feedback, but I'm giving it to you now that it's.
But I had done that different times.
Yeah, you'd have to. I mean,
you know, people would call and there'd be sickness or something. The road wasn't.
And they could be in Evanston.
And I would call and send
hundreds of miles away.
Not my
necessarily
writing.
in your backyard.
I don't think any of it was in my writing, but I was the minister, and they'd call, and I would arrange for the plow to be out there just as soon as possible.
Yep.
And nobody ever, the supervisors in the various districts, they never refused. If I called them on a Sunday morning and this guy's got a problem and he's, for whatever reason, it may be I plow the road, they'd take the plow or get the plow driver out and plow the road. I've done that I don't know how many times.
Well, red tape can be frustrating.
Oh yeah.
And you don't know who to call or anything like that, but I mean, they knew, that you were the guy that could make things happen.
Yeah, oh yes.
Well, and I was talking to you earlier, I guess some things, you've been living in Bonnie River all your life, and we got a couple things we're going to talk about here. There's one thing I have is right here. What is this? And we're going to hold it up to the camera. Now,
well, Mark, that's long before my time, but I can tell you what it is. It's a mark on a log that the people who had sawmills on the Macadavy River,
right?
I expect that came from the Macadavy.
Yeah. I think I would have to guess, maybe from the one in Second Falls, maybe, would you say?
Right.
Possibly?
Each guy, man that had a sawmill, they'd go upriver, up the Macadavy, way up. They'd all cut logs, and they drove put the logs on the side of the river, and in the spring they drove them down. They're all mixed up.
Yep.
You had this mark, and I would have another one. So when they got down to Second Falls,
right,
the piers above the Second Falls Bridge, they would hold all the logs there, and that's where they sorted them. Every log with that mark, that was your mark.
So that's how I would get paid if this was my mark, right?
No, just be your log to go to your mill.
Yep. Oh, for my mill. That's how it went. Okay.
Yeah, that's not how you get paid.
Oh, okay.
The fellas in the woods.
They would know. Somebody scaled it beforehand, right? Is how
it was all scaled and paid for. And those were your logs that were going to your mill. So
would they all make it down?
Oh, yeah,
would they all come down the river though? None of them get lost?
Yes, they wouldn't get lost. The river drives, they drove the drives, and anything was caught, they'd put it out.
And you see those guys that are out there spinning on the logs and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, there's quite an art to it, right? I mean,
yes, doesn't happen. That was even before my time.
Yeah,
but I know.
You estimated maybe the late 1900s, late 1800s, right? This would have been around.
Yeah, I would say late 1800s.
You can see them driven in the river now, because this is where the slabs are cut off.
Yeah.
And they're driving right into the river now, which is...
well, yeah, that's right. They went into the mill, and the slabs went back out into the river those days.
Yep.
They just floated down, piled up somewhere.
And I don't think it'd be an environmental nightmare now for you to try. You wouldn't even get your mill in the river now.
One slab, and you'd be in court.
Yeah, I dare say you probably that would be the end of you.
That's right.
Another thing I have. This is from my family. I guess it would. Will you go back?
Yeah, I guess that was a hotel in Bonnie River one time.
That was where I live, right?
Right, I mean, where you live, but actually right where your house is.
Yes, exactly.
And that hotel was there, and I understand that's the key to the hotel. A gentleman by the name of T.A. Sullivan run the hotel.
Do you remember that's when the train went through there, right?
Oh, I remember the train, because the train was there until the 60s. I think it was 67 or something, the train quit coming.
Yeah.
But I don't remember the hotel, but I understand that is the key to the hotel.
Yeah, she burned. I don't know. I don't know if it was just the hotel that burned, or if there was an actual big fire that went through the air. I can't remember. I think it was actually the hotel just burned, but there was a train station there, and and that was the station. And well, it went from, you could go to St. John, or you could go right all the way up to Macadam, and basically across Canada, right? That's where this thing went.
Train came through from Moncton or St. John and through Bonnie River and on through to St. Stephen and wherever, and to Macadam, whatever.
Which is, they ended up going across Canada, which is
pretty well, yes.
That's
that was the key.
The key to the hotel. I was amazed.
Which was a relative of yours, actually.
Yeah. Gosh, I don't know. Great grandfather, maybe. I'm not sure now, but it was.
Yes.
It's going back a few years, but it's. I bring those things on every once in a while, or every week I try to bring things on to show people of something that's peculiar about our area or something, but. I guess we had mentioned earlier that Freddie McKenna was must have been a great friend of yours.
Yeah, Frank was a good friend of mine.
And still is, I guess. Frank's
still our good friend.
Frank's from Elma? Is that where he was from?
Yes, he was from Elma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you guys did something unprecedented before then, and I don't think it's been done since then. You swept the election.
Yeah.
Which was unheard of. I mean, you
all 58.
Yeah, 58 to nothing, which is
58 seats at that time. Yeah.
Which is I can't imagine that you'd ever. Well, I mean, it was beyond your wildest dreams. I don't imagine you even thought, you thought, well, if we get 40 or if we get, all you got to have is the majority, right? I mean, that's what you wanted. But no way you'd ever think, which makes it probably, I guess it would make it, I'm going to say, easier to govern. But the only thing is that everybody's watching you then. I mean, so I mean, there's still people to hold you accountable, regardless if you have an opposition or not.
Oh yes, there was. Yeah.
So, and then there at one time, I don't know if this was during your political life, there was the Core Party got involved, right? Was that during?
Yes, and
which kind of just split the vote amongst everybody with conservatives, liberals, and NDPs.
I think 5 of them that was elected when I was there.
Which is
sometime through the 25 years. I think it was in the 80s.
And then it just died out. But when you get these different parties, and now normally we have 3. We have 3 parties running here in federally and provincially, or I guess there's more federally. But what it does is it splits the vote up.
Yes, it does.
So if you get somebody running your riding, and all of a sudden, I guess the Green Party's involved. So we get 4 parties. There's Green, NDP, Conservatives, and Liberals. So, obviously with Frank, when you're getting a 58 to nothing, you just like it's.
Yes, sir. He was shocked.
Yep. Oh yeah. I remember I was at my uncle Archie Campbell's.
Yeah.
Who's a good friend of yours.
Yeah, Archie.
And there was he was having I don't know what I was doing there. I was up. It was election night. It was that night of that election.
Yeah.
And he was in Bonnie River at his mother's place, which became his place. And that was when he had some friends in, and they were talking, and it was 58 to nothing, and he couldn't believe it.
Yeah,
so and as I say, it hasn't been done since, and I'd hazard to guess it may not ever happen again.
I don't think it ever happened before either.
No, God, no, I wouldn't think so.
Frank caught on. He was a very popular. People just wanted him as premier, and that's what happened.
Yeah, well, he had a air about him, right? I mean, that I don't think it's any. And as I say, sometimes it's a perfect storm when somebody comes along that everything just falls in place. Yeah. If you get into a situation where maybe the party that was in there beforehand, people are getting tired of them, and then you come along right at the right time. I mean, you can catch lightning in a bottle, and
sure can.
And it can, and obviously it can go the other way, because you had mentioned you had been defeated, and that's not a nice feeling either, I'm sure.
No. People, when they're ready for change, they make the change.
No
question about that.
And I guess if we had talked to Greg, the people are your boss.
Absolutely.
If you don't think that that you have a boss, that you think, well, the leader's the boss, well, you'll soon find out if you're sitting on the other side sometime. They go, geez, what happened? I wonder.
If you don't listen to that guy out there that wants to talk to you, you'll find out who the boss is. If you do enough of that, if you don't pay attention to your constituents. Yeah. That's what you're there for.
So you travel back and forth to Fredericton every day, or did you stay up sometimes?
It was a bit too far. It was close to 100 miles or up and back. So it was about 75.
Well, now it's hardly, it's now that the road's done all the way through, which wasn't done, I don't think, when you were there, but we're almost.
Kilometers now, but even that, 75 up, 75 back, it's quite a little run because you're busy. And lots of times you had committee meetings in the evening. Right. And sometimes the house set in the evening, so I went up on Tuesday and came back on Friday pretty well, because you never knew what was coming up through the week for committee meetings. And
did you have the summer off? Is that how it works?
Yes, you had
the summer off, and then Christmas break as well, right? I mean, you don't have it off, but you're not sitting in the legislature.
Off from the legislature,
because I've been to your house in the summertime, and the phone never stopped ringing all the time I was there, and you're trying to talk to me, and then you got one ear going on the phone, and you're thinking, oh my, and Joan, God love her, she was your secretary or your receptionist for you.
Because you was for a long, long time.
Because you said back in the day, you couldn't hire an assistant.
No, you couldn't. You didn't have the money to do it. You just got paid yourself. And if you want to take half your salary and hire an assistant, well, you could do that, I suppose, but I never did that. She used to answer the phone. Late years, though, they made a budget available, so you could hire an extra assistant to look after some of your phone calls.
And some of the people nowadays have got even softer, a lot softer than you ever did, I guess.
Oh yeah,
the times have changed.
Yeah, they have changed.
You know,
a lot.
You go back to when you were in power. I mean, you were out in 2003, which is not a long time ago. It's 12 years ago. There wasn't the social media that there is now. I mean, you say something here now, within 5 seconds, 10 seconds, it can be on the internet. So whereas before you didn't have to be as guarded as you are now. I mean, I think it's a different age altogether now. You got to watch what you say, watch what you do.
Oh yes.
Who you associate with.
That's right.
But it's a different world for sure. Facebook and everything. And I think that people are finding that out. So
absolutely.
Well, it's amazing how time goes by so fast, Sheldon, but we're almost out of time. And I want to thank you for coming on. It's been great, and I don't think we didn't cover everything. Would you mind coming back sometime?
Oh, I'll come back sometime, sure.
Okay, well, thanks for coming on, Sheldon.
Thanks for inviting me, Mark.
No problem. It's good to have you on here. Well, this has been the Mark Taylor Show, and I'm glad you tuned in, and make sure you tune in next time. Thank you.